forever. There's no place for time when you're young. Can't find the words, but we know how we feel. Could we stay longer here in the summer? In the summer. I hope the summer never ends. Oh no.
Alright, it's Mark, and it's time to start our live show this week. So, anyway, this week our sponsor is Tetsu from Armabenders Armature Kits at StopMotionStore.com. And you can check out these armature kits in our store. They're made out of bronze, phosphor bronze, and brass and aluminum, and are extremely precise in their machining, so you guys might appreciate that. So let me get rid of this. Let's see here. Just here, and bring our web camera on. Okay. So let's see how this looks. Okay. So anyways, this week we had some mold making to do, and 2 weeks ago we worked on this. This is one of our characters. So what you can see here is the design, and we created this little face. As you can see, if it'll focus. So a pretty simple character. And so what we had to do is take our little box, which is made from foam core, which we cut out last week, and we're going to stick it over the top. And I have a hot glue on the side that I have heating up, which I'm going to use right now. I'm going to get it. So we're going to glue this together. And so that's one of our goals. So anyways, last week we didn't have a show. And it was a pretty crappy week for us last week because one of our cats that we had for about 16 years, we had to put down. And so he was actually my mom's cat. And my mom passed away about 4 years ago. So, it was like her cat that we were taking care of. And so, unfortunately, we determined that he probably had like a brain tumor. And just out of the blue, he started to have like these little, these things like seizures, where he would just like stop where he was and then like fall over and twitch around for about maybe 2 or 3 seconds and get up and be like, what the heck just happened? And it was pretty sad because that morning before on Wednesday, I guess, Tuesday or Wednesday, when was it? Anyway, he jumped up on our kitchen table, and I had been kind of following him around to see what he was going to do because he kept falling over, and we weren't sure like if he had a heart problem or what it was. and we thought maybe like he was losing blood flow to his brain just for a second or something. Or he was also on some thyroid medication because he had an overactive thyroid. And we had gone to the vet about 2 weeks beforehand because he had one of these episodes where he jumped down off a bed and fell over and like peed on himself, So we thought we were going to save him and fix him up with this medication for his thyroid. And then 2 weeks after that, just like whatever was wrong with him hit him really bad. And so that morning he jumped up on the kitchen table. And in the back of my mind, when he jumped on the table, he was kind of paranoid because we have 2 other cats that like to sort of attack him. So he was a really like antisocial cat, and so he got mad at one of our cats who wasn't doing anything, but he got scared. And he jumped up on the table, and he had one of these moments where he just collapsed, and he fell off the table on his side like he was dead. And but then he got up. And like you heard his head like hit the ground, It was really sad. I mean, I never saw a cat do that, and it just freaked me out. And so, we took him to the vet, and technically, my dad is the owner of the cat because it was my mom's cat. So I took him to the vet, told the vet what was going on, and they said, well, he's probably having seizures. And he had about 4 or 5 seizures in the vet's office. They saw it happening, and so we had to make the decision to put him down, unfortunately. Luckily, it seemed like, when they did their lethal injection, it was peaceful and everything. Like he just kind of, collapsed and didn't seem to suffer, which is nice. And had to take him home, and then like dig a hole in the ground, all that good stuff. So anyway, it's like having a family member in a way kind of pass away, and so it was kind of a sad experience. And my sister also is sick in the hospital. Was in the hospital, and it's been a crazy week or so for us. But so the cat is taken care of. And my sister seems to be getting somewhat better as well. So that's why I didn't have a live show last week. But so my apologies. Just like sometimes real life happens and you can't really do much about it. It's just the way it is. But anyway, so what I've done is, so for you guys watching, so I've hot glued this box on here. This is a piece of acrylic plexiglass, and so the cool part about it is if you put hot glue on here and it cools, once this cools, you can sort of pop it off, but it holds pretty well. So this is something I can reuse. Let's kind of give you an example. This is still kind of hot, so it's really sticky still, but if it were cool, you would see that the plastic would just, it wouldn't leave too much of a marring on the surface or anything. Alright, so I'm going to let my hot glue gun cool off because I don't really need to plug it in after I'm not going to be using it anymore. So I'm going to put this aside. And I've got some rubber gloves. I use these for spray painting this week, so I got some black on here. But if you use rubber gloves and you use it for like spray painting or something, you can reuse them because they're not, they're still good. They'll still protect your hands. And so I'm going to be using some Goopy Rebound 25 silicone for this. Yep, thanks Hoserloo. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's definitely not fun living through, having to put an animal to sleep and stuff, but that's part of having pets, it's like, that's how it is. At least that's what I tell myself anyway. So I'm going to put this aside. Now, so if you guys haven't done this before, this particular scale is really crummy. I need to clean this off one of these days, but I've used a lot of different things on here to weigh in terms of I've weighed out some epoxy air, which is like a two-part. How do you describe it exactly? It's kind of like they take a lightweight kind of plastic filler material and they put epoxy in each part, and it's so super lightweight. It's great stuff. But when you put it on a scale or something without anything covering it, it gets kind of dirty. It's very sticky stuff. So I'm going to put on my gloves here. Now for our mold, we don't really need a lot of silicone. I'm going to kind of eyeball this cup, and I'm going to look in here and I'm going to say, all right, how much do we need? We need about half of that to fill this mold. So, I don't know. Let's just look and pour it in here and see what it looks like when we fill it up. I'm not sure what the weight will be as... Oh, is my battery okay? Yeah. All right. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put my silicone container in this direction and lay it down like this, so it kind of settles because there's not much in here. So I'm gonna let this silicone that's in the bottom kind of make its way towards the front with gravity, and I'm gonna open up the other container. When I'm done pouring this in here, hopefully the other one will be just about at the end of the container. See here, move this over. You guys can see it better. So what I do is I occasionally will tap my scale with the stick here. Reason being that the scale will reset if you don't touch it. So while you're waiting for your silicone to pour out, you want to make sure it doesn't reset right as the silicone touches the cup, because you'll have a hard time, measuring it and stuff. Alright, so I think maybe just 0.1 ounces would be enough. Oh, what just happened there? Why did my scale turn off? See, that's what I was talking about. Alright. I don't know if my battery just died or what. Are you dead? Alright. So what I'm going to do is take another cup. So since this just happened, and I was just talking about this happening, what you do to resolve it is you take another cup that's empty, and then you hit the 0 button on your scale. It will zero out, and then when you put your other cup on here, it will give you an accurate reading of how much silicone's in there. So I should probably keep touching this more often, because I guess it's going so slow that it doesn't register it. So Whiskey's saying he uses old molds. Yep, you can chop up old molds, that's true. Which I have done, and I don't have any that I can use for this project. And all the molds I've made for these guys I want to keep. Alright, so I think 0.4 ounces is good for half of our part A and part B. I think 0.8 ounces would be enough to fill our molds just by looking at this, by eyeballing it. So I'm going to cover up this, seal up our silicone, and then I'm going to use our next container. Before I do that, I want to wipe our stick, because if I touch this in there, in the other part B, what will happen is it will start the process of curing, and I don't want that. So keep touching our scale. So 0.8 is what we're going to shoot for here. So we can get this started. Alright, so you can see here how it's starting to drip out now. Okay. 0.6. This is really easy to do. I mean, anybody can do this. And it's not smelly. This is not a smelly kind of silicone. So if you guys are ever wanting to use something like this, but you're afraid that it's gonna require a lot of ventilation, you don't really need any ventilation with this Rebound 25. I mean, if you stick your nose on it, you can smell something, but it's not anything strong. There's no kind of like vinegary smell or like a spray painty kind of smell or anything. It's really super, super mild. Okay, we're almost there. It should be very close to 0.8 any moment now. I think we're teetering just between the two. Roll up my sleeves. Yep. Yeah, you don't want to get this on your clothes. That would be bad. Let's see what this does. Alright, that's all we need. So, I just kind of wipe this off a bit. Silicone is a messy thing. I mean, it's kind of like just a oily substance more than anything. So, I think like if you just got part A or part B on yourself, you could clean up pretty easily. I think one of the ways you clean up is with sawdust. So if you have any like a bandsaw or something that has sawdust underneath it, you can sprinkle it on your whatever you spilled your silicone on, and it tends to absorb a lot of the oils that are in it. In terms of the chemicals, though, the catalyst that's in there, I don't really know if that would be an unsafe thing to wear clothes that you've had silicone on. Like, would it completely clean it off with soap, like dish detergent or something? I'm not too sure. But cured silicone on any kind of fabric, you cannot get out. It's impossible. Silicone, if you can see like how it just kind of it seeps or flows like a liquid, and it's that flowing like this that allows the silicone to get into very fine cracks. So all the little pores and stuff that are in your fabric, it will go right down inside there and just fuse with it and get around all the fibers and everything. So there's really no getting it out of clothes. I mean, it will pop off of like something like leather or plastic. If you have like a windbreaker or something like that, or a raincoat, you could probably get it off. But blue jeans or t-shirts or any kind of jackets that are made from fabric, you're pretty much there's nothing you can do. All you can do is catch it before it cures and try to absorb it with paper towels and stuff. Alright, so here's our face. He is ready for silicone. I'm looking down inside the mold here to see if there's anything that needs touching up, and there is. So I'm going to take my gloves off. The messy part is over. I'm using the containers of silicone. It's pretty messy, but there's like a little scratch on his face that I just want to clean up right here. It's always good, like, if you ever work with wood, they say measure twice and cut once. So you want to kind of look at your sculpture after you've put it in the mold, if you can see it like this, and touch it up twice and mold it once, you know. Because whatever I cast in here, if there's a mistake, if there's a mistake here and I keep casting the mistakes over and over, you gotta, fix those up every time. Okay, so just gonna slowly pour it in here. We don't have to be super careful about this, but one of the tricks is that you kind of let it go and flow into one corner of your mold slowly, and it will just do its thing, and the air will slowly rise up, in this one particular spot. But it's such a small mold that I don't really anticipate air being a big issue here. It's going to kind of cover the face a bit. Let that flow into the face while I'm doing this. Because it'll slowly settle into all these details wherever you put the silicone. Silicone is a really interesting material. There's so much you can do with it. From robotics and prosthetics and animatronics and molds and casting puppets in it and, all kinds of stuff. It's really versatile and definitely better than any of the traditional materials like liquid latex, natural latex. It outlasts it. It's more stable. Well, that's not really true. It depends on what kind of certain silicones are not very stable. But platinum silicone is really, really stable. And there's even surgical grade silicones. There's silicones that are very soft, silicones that are very, very hard. So really you can do anything with it, if whatever your imagination can think up. Alright, so as you can see, it's slowly going into all the cracks around our character. And if you see any air bubbles, you can use your tool and just kind of pop them, just to help the process along a little bit. Also in my cup, because it's taking a while to pour, there's a lot of air bubbles, so I can sort of take my tool, pop those so that they don't go down into the mold itself. If you have a vacuum machine, it's always helpful too, but for a one-piece mold, you almost never really need that. A lot of people will use a vacuum machine to degas the silicone, which what it basically does is it kind of it actually vacuums out the atmosphere inside of it. So if there's let's say for example there's 15 pounds of air pressure per square inch, it'll make that as close to zero as possible. So any air that's pressing down on your silicone and keeping those bubbles small, those bubbles actually expand because it doesn't have any pressure collapsing them. So all those bubbles rise to the top in a vacuum chamber, and it will just completely degas the silicone. But really, the only reason you need to do that is if you have silicone going on the underside of a sculpture. So if I were to suspend a ball in here or something, and I poured silicone in there, the air that's rising from below would get trapped. Let's see here. So I think I have enough silicone here. It's just taking a while to pour, to make it a little bit faster, because I think the silicone is almost covering everything now. Or at least all the details that I'm not wanting to have air bubbles on. Should be good. Now I do see some marbling here in my cup. So before this pours out, I'm just going to make sure that anything that seems to be unmixed is mixed up right here. So let's see. Yep, yeah, it's a good color. And the reason for the coloring in here is you want to have silicone that has a color to it. Now, you don't want to, if you're casting a puppet, you don't want to have an orange puppet, right? So you wouldn't use a silicone like this. You use something like dragon skin or a translucent silicone. But the color is for when you mix the two halves together, one half is white, one is orange, and you can see how well it's mixed. So like I was just saying just now, I saw a little bit of marbling, so it looked like there was some white streaks, and I don't want that because that means that little section of silicone didn't mix in properly with the orange side, which I always forget if the orange is the catalyst or the base, but let's see, where does it say here? Part B is orange, but it doesn't say on the container if it's actually what it is. But so as you can see, everything is nice and covered, so I'm gonna scrape the rest in. And this doesn't cure. This will take probably, how long does it take for this to cure? I think it sets up in about half an hour, and it fully cures in 24 hours. It'll actually set up faster than that, but it's not a full cure. So if you were gonna, for example, make a mold that you're cutting up with the razor blade, like where you're putting something with undercuts and you want to cut it out, you really don't want to do that until the next day after you've cast it. So this looks like, I mixed up just enough silicone for this. I think it's going to work out perfect. So any air bubbles on top, just take your tool and just kind of pop those. And that's pretty much it. And then we'll just wait for this to set up, like I say, which will take 24 hours. But our next live show, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to, before the show starts, I'm going to pop our clay face out of here, which this will be hard. And I will probably cast 4 or 5 of these if possible. I don't know if I have enough clay to do that, but here's the good news. One of my friends offered me some clay from a stop motion animator who passed away, who had a bunch of clay, and he has this exact orange clay. This is actually Avalon clay, which is extremely hard to find. Not much of it exists in the world anymore, believe it or not. This is from about 1985. It's really ancient, but this is what the original clay animators at Wolverton Studios used to use, and so that's partially why I'm using this, because I bought some from a guy named Tony Marathu, who worked at the studio. And so I was running out of this orange clay, and I'm like, where am I going to get more? And I wrote to Tony Marathu, and he never wrote back. I don't know if he didn't get my message or just ignored me. But my friend Webster said, oh, I got some. So I should have more of this probably next week before the live show, which is perfect timing because I'm just about out. So let's see. So Oweski says, I use Moldstar Platinum Silicone Blue in color. Okay. I'm not sure if I've used that one before, actually. And so Finn says, I use like sealant number 1 all-purpose silicone and mix it with cornstarch and blue food coloring. Cool. That's kind of a cool trick. I've never seen that done. That's awesome. One time I made an UltraCal 30 mold of a hand, and what I used was a silicone like that. I don't know really what type it was. Some sort of a silicone that you use to seal like kitchen windows with. And the silicone was uh, it was translucent, and it was in like a container where you put it in a silicone. What do you call those things? Like a silicone gun, where it's got a round end on one side of a rod that like pushes the inside through, and squeezes it out. And so I squeezed a bunch out, and I used some Tinsol pigments in there. Tinsol is a brand of pigment that it's like a powdery, liquidy, powdery kind of substance that it has some, I guess, water in it, but when it dries out, it's just a powder. And I mixed it in with my mold, and it worked. So I think I used either dish soap or like chopped up bar soap that I mixed in with water and turned it into like a paste. I used that as mold release. And I mean, to my surprise, the silicone was inside this plaster mold, ultracal mold, and it worked. I had wire inside there, like a little armature, It's really cool. But the problem was this silicone when I pulled it out of the mold, it was solid, it was hard, but it stunk really strong like vinegar. Really, really, really strong. Like if you're gonna animate it, you wouldn't be able to stand it. So so I don't know. Maybe I guess there's certain silicones that probably are not as smelly. So Finn says same, but mine was like foggy, and it was just the silicone, and the gun is called a caulk. Yeah, that's what it was, a silicone caulking. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna set our mold aside. You can see here, you notice the little air bubbles in there rising up. So, like I said before, you can take your little stick and just kind of pop those if you want to. These don't really affect anything very much or anything, but it's just kind of pleasing to make it a little bit nicer and more flat, because sometimes if it sets up and the bubble doesn't rise and pop, you'll have these like little lumps on the surface. Alright, so let me throw this cup away. And the gloves, which are greasy now. Set aside the containers of silicone. Alright. This here I'm going to put over here. So the next thing we have to do is to sculpt some... Well, let's see. I guess his costume is a sort of unusual green color. Now I've got some various kinds of greens, and I have some puppet putty, but this I want to save for the apples in the film. So saving the green, and also puppet putty. This is a red, which I'm going to make use for the apples. And puppet putty is a more, I don't know if you can see, you see how it's got that shine to it? So if ever you think about apples are always kind of shiny like this, and it's like waxy, and it's got some translucency to it. It's an awesome kind of clay. So oh, okay. So you've used one for fish tanks before. That was very strong. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, there's some. It's I don't know if they actually use vinegar in there or what, but yeah, it was pretty gross. But anyway, puppet putty. You guys can find this in our store, stopmotionstore.com. I gotta tell Don to make some more because we're down to I think 4 more bars and we're out of it already. This stuff sells so quick. But we're not gonna use that. We're gonna use probably some. This would be good for the hair color. This is really close in color to the hair. So it's kind of a drab yellow green. So got some yellow. And this here was in a box of clay. And it's a bit dusty and yucky. So we're going to clean it up first. But we are going to use some of this yellow to lighten up the color a bit because, as you can see, it's definitely a lighter yellow, or lighter green. And to darken it, you know, I might actually go with trying to lighten this one because this probably has more. This is a dark green. This is Van Aken clay, I believe. Yes, it is. I think if I try to lighten the lighter green with yellow, it's going to be vivid. Whereas this one will be more of this drab color. Because it's a darker green. It's already sort of drab, as you can see, compared to this one. So I'm going to mix this with the yellow. But first, like I say, I want to clean this yellow up a bit. So what I'm going to use is just a cake icing spatula, I guess they call these. So I'm just going to take the whole surface off. A very thin layer. Like that. So you can see it's really super thin. I don't want to waste clay. And I'm just going to do that across the whole thing. So any dust or dirt or other colored clays or anything that's on here is going to be taken off. Super easy to do. Because we don't want to have like this, this sort of purple and whatever else was touching this to be mixed in with our clay. It probably wouldn't affect the color a real lot. You know, I mean, like if you had just a little bit of red in there or something, it's not going to matter. But, you know, whatever. Let's do it anyway. There is definitely a lot of like dust in here and stuff. So this was in a bit of a dusty spot, dusty place, and we don't want that. We don't want dirt in our clay. And like I said, we have 3 cats in our house, and no matter what, no matter how clean you keep stuff, after one day there's dust bunnies of cat hairs floating around in your space. Okay, so it's pretty clean now. Easy enough. So like I say, trying to determine colors is not easy sometimes. It takes some experience, and it depends on what colors you have available too. Like if I didn't have this more drab colored green here to make this color, I would probably use the original color here, which is the regular green, maybe just a touch of black and a bunch of dark brown. So I would darken this to be somewhat like this, and then I would lighten it with the yellow. Because you can make this color green out of this. Alright, so I'm going to take a chunk of our dark green. This. Maybe just a little bit bigger. So for this character, I'm probably going to need not a huge amount, but I figure I'll have a front view of him and perhaps like a side view as well, just to kind of give myself some options for this. So when I'm putting him in the shot, what I'll have is, because I don't really know like how I'm going to position them in the shots yet. I had some stuff storyboarded and it's really basic and simple, but when you set this up on your stage, your little clay on glass stage, you don't really know how things will look in the camera and positioning things and all of that. Just having more options is really good. So I'm not going to make a huge amount of this, just enough to sculpt, front and the side. And what I've got on the side is a pasta roller machine. So I can roll this through. Make sure I don't hit my microphone. Okay. So I'm going to roll it through a few times. So that's what it does. Just makes it flat, flattens the two colors together. I'm just going to kind of fold these over, roll it, whatever, and then roll it through again. Like I said in previous shows, when you do this, you're multiplying, there's like a multiplier factor. So if you fold it over once, you're mixing it together one time, but you fold it over twice. You multiply that by 2. Every time you do that, every time you fold it. So you can see it's lightening up a bit. It might take a lot more yellow to get it to be this light. But I can see already it's headed in the right direction in terms of trying to aim for that. So I'm going to add some more yellow. And this should definitely, this amount of volume give me enough for a front and a side already. And this kind of, these techniques and stuff, mixing clay, you could use this for regular full 3D clay characters like from Aardman. Aardman is probably the most popular studio now, making clay characters. Although, if you guys have watched on YouTube some of their videos on how they've made things for their latest one, they use a lot of other materials besides clay. And those are things like like silicone, like I just showed before. It's a perfect example of what you can use to substitute parts for your characters. Like if you're worried about your clay character being too heavy or something and not standing up very well, you can use silicone, like a foam silicone. It's more lightweight and won't crack. Like if you make an arm or something and it bends and it cracks because it's clay, silicone doesn't have that problem. So, but I personally like the look of clay, and making a character that's flat like this, you don't have to worry about the clay cracking or anything like that. Where traditional clay puppet, where everything is made out of clay, that's definitely a challenge, to say the least. Alright, so we're definitely getting closer. I'm probably going to cut this in half and add more yellow to the half. Let's see here. Because I think having a darker color in between this and the darker, because we got almost like a shadow in his jacket there. I could have a darker clay just to go in there and make the shadows or something. This will be the darker version, so I'll add some yellow to this one. Like I say, I just like to have more options with things. Like I don't like to stick to rules so much. Like if I mix this whole thing up as just one color, I'll have to darken it later, So I already have too much, more than I really need. So I'll just put some aside like that. Roll this through a little bit faster. So you can see we're getting pretty close here. I think adding just a little more yellow and this will be good. I don't want to add too much. So, I kind of miss seeing the clay animation characters that Wolf Vinton Studios used to make all the time. Like, I don't know how old some of you guys are out there. Like Finn, I mean, I'm imagining if I were to guess, uh, you're probably younger than I am. But Wolf Vinton Studios used to make tons and tons of characters out of clay and animate them. And they got around all the problems of doing the animation with clay because it's, like I said, it's heavy, it cracks and everything. But they got around all those problems just by, sculpting during animation and fixing problems as you went along. And while it's a little bit frustrating for animators to do that, the result is just a really beautiful animation. The characters look like they're coming to life, and it's different than any other kind of stop motion, pure clay animation. That look is very hard to achieve. You'll see some people that try to achieve it in CG and whatnot, but like paying homage to clay animators and stuff like that. But it doesn't really strike you the same way it does when it's the real deal. All right, so we're really close, I think, to that color already. Yep, we're getting old. Old fogies. Yeah, that was my dream, to work for Wolf Vinton Studios when I was younger. And almost did get to work there. I tried out, did some animation for. They had the PJ's Christmas special that they wanted to hire me for, and I passed my animation test, the first one, really great. And then later that night, I ended up getting sick as a dog. I drank some water out of a container in my hotel room, and I don't know if somebody spiked it with something, but it had this bizarre smell to it. Like a chemical kind of smell, like a plasticky kind of smell. And I don't know if it was really the water or what, but I was really, really sick that day. And halfway through my animation test, I'm just like, oh my god, I don't know if I can even finish the test, And ended up failing the second animation test, so it's like, well, that's just my fate. This wasn't meant to be, I guess. And I'm kind of glad it didn't work out. Like, I think that right now, having like a YouTube channel, I worked on making my website really big, and so I benefited a lot of people, I guess. These people could learn stop motion through the website at the time, before YouTube really took off, and everybody makes stop motion videos now, but I was one of the first, so I'm kind of happy with that. Anyways, so the color here I think matches really well. Let's see what time I got. About 10 minutes left. Okay, so I'm going to start sculpting this. And it's pretty easy to do this. And you guys who have been watching me for a while have seen my techniques, but you can use tools like this, which is just a divider. And you can make a measurement, transfer it to your clay. Take the width, transfer the width, so we know that our character has to fit within this box. Let's take our tools. I'm going to cut this box apart, or a rectangle, whatever you want to call it. Cut it to shape. I've got our clay, which I can set aside. This will be for the side view of his body. Like this. And then just kind of round it off. And you can sketch on the clay. So I can go on here. I know that the top has to be rounded, so I'll kind of find the middle point. And sketch like this. So I know where to cut. take a razor blade and just go along here. Like this. So we got the basic shape there. Now I need to round it out. So I'll just kind of take my knife and then cut this sharp edge off. Today we went to this bakery in a place called Hy-Vee. It's like a grocery store which is owned by the people that work there. And some of their stuff is expensive. It's totally... if you go to some place like Walmart and buy the same stuff, it's a little bit outrageous. The difference in prices, but they have some really good food. And in their bakery, they have a place where they make all these, it's cakes and donuts and cupcakes and breads and stuff. But they do this kind of thing all day, with dough to make different shapes for crazy looking cookies and stuff. Like now it's St. Patrick's Day is coming up, I guess, so they have a lot of shamrocks and googly eyed characters that are green in color, so it's kind of interesting that I was thinking, a lot of their techniques are probably similar to what you'd use in clay. But I don't know if I could work really hard on sculpting something and then give it to somebody and they just eat it, You just destroy it instantly in about 2 minutes or less. I would feel demotivated to put a lot of effort into it, knowing that you're just going to destroy it. So there's the basic shape. That's pretty good. So we have like a line that goes down the center. So we can add all that, but first I want to smooth him out a bit. So I have, this here is my mineral oil from last week in a cup with paper towels. I'm just going to turn it inside out, get a little bit of oil on my finger, and just go over the surface of my little sculpture here. Smooth it up a bit, make it nice. Straightforward. So the oil, if you guys are new to this channel, the oil is a way to chemically melt the surface just a little bit. So imagine if you were taking a piece of wax and using a flame to melt it and it becomes smooth. Well, you can do it with chemicals as well. And so this is just mineral oil, which is really super cheap. You can get it in a pharmacy anywhere. If you go to a place that sells, vitamin pills and Band-Aids and blood pressure things and whatever else, medical stuff. They almost always have mineral oil, and it's I think $2 for a pint or something like that. Super cheap. Alright, so for this line down the middle here, I'm going to use this modified, sure it's clean here, tooth scraper tool from the dentist. And this is what they use to pick all the plaque off your teeth with when you go to the dentist, and they go, and your ears are like, no, you're going to drive me crazy. So there's that line. And the next thing I want to do is put some arms on this guy here. So the question is, like, his arms were sort of built into his jacket or whatever he's wearing. But I think for animation purposes, I might want to keep these sort of loose on here like this and attach it sort of up here. Although that won't really look nice, will it? I think it would make his arms look super long. Well, I don't really know what I'm going to do here entirely. So I had to think about how this is going to move as well. The ball of clay looks like a bird, you think? Here's a close-up. Alright, here's his beak. His beak. And his eyeball. And here's his little legs. Alright. More like a zombie bird, actually. But, yeah, so... I don't know with his arms. I guess I will attach it like I have it here. And then I'll worry about the animation part of it later. This might require some re-sculpting as I animate, like I was mentioning before. Where it just might take extra patience to move him around, but that's okay. Like this, and then I'm gonna work this into the body to attach it. So I think the thing that this guy here might be seen doing in the film will be to throw an apple up into the air and eat it. So some of my characters that I've made, I might actually end up having to make an extra 1 or 2 replacement faces for them. Yeah, some of the shots that I have, I don't really know how I'm going to do. Like, I've not planned out all the shots. But I do know that, these guys here are going to have to be outside together and enjoying their harvest of apples. So I can have like one person feeding an apple to another person, and then some shots where they're throwing the apple up in the air and then catching it in their mouth, and a lot of different options there. So for some, I could probably get around with just like one replacement face. For others, I might have like a squash and stretch of the face where they're kind of anticipating the apple falling into their mouth, and then you're just gonna like chomp it, like, teeth and all showing, like a real big wide mouth, really exaggerated. So that's one thing, you don't want to like make the characters with the replacements. You don't want to make it so. You don't want to play it too safe. You want to be kind of extreme, because it will really look a lot nicer that way. So this character's got these little like cuffs around his arms, his sleeves, and this might be a good way to do it. Just kind of keep his arms like this, so I can kind of bend it up or to the side. I think that'll work. So I'm just gonna add some texture where the sleeve meets the armpit. Like there's some natural folding going on there. Then he's got kind of like this little design on the side. It just kind of comes in a bit. And then it's a darker color. So like I said before, I've got some the clay which is a bit darker. And I think I can take some and sort of put it in there and blend it just a little bit. So make a little piece for this sort of area. And maybe for this side. It's kind of like the Oompa Loompa character for my phone. He looks sort of... Maybe subconsciously I was thinking of that character or something. But anyway. So now we got some different colors in here. Go back in and detail it because I smoothed it out. So I don't know if those were like pockets or, you know, I don't really know. Move his arms out. Smooth it out this way. So, you know, and then you can just like play with it until you're happy. And so it's going to have like a little button that goes right in the center of his jacket. Actually, it's not really the center, it's about here. So I'm going to add some little folds or wrinkles or whatever you want to call it, where that button's going to go. This. It's already 9 o'clock, man. So I got a little piece of yellow clay here. This is also Avalon clay. And Avalon clay colors of yellow are more muted than the Van Aken clay. So that's why I want to use it, because I don't want it to be too neon bright, you know, like sticking out. So I'm going to put his little button right in the middle. Flatten it. And then... so you guys can see, just going to add 2 little dots. This, little details. All right. Well, it is 9 o'clock, so I think that's as far as we're going to go today. So next week, what the plan will be is to, of course, to work on this part of his jacket, his upper part, adding hands, the pants, and some shoes. So I may cast some of these heads also, just so if this doesn't take me the whole hour to make these 3 parts. I'll have a few heads cast, but I think I can probably pop out the other head that's in the mold and sculpt the hair on top of it. I think that would be okay. So anyways, that does wrap up our show for today. I do want to thank you guys all for stopping by, and including you, Finn, who I guess it's maybe your first time. So you did make me, you said, the ball of clay in the background kind of looks like a bird. Well, now it doesn't, because when you pulled some clay off it, it didn't. Now it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see that comment before I would have responded. But anyway, if you guys are interested, just stop in next week, and happy animating. See you later.